Paragliding has always been a thrilling concept for me, something that combined my love for adventure with the lure of the sky. So when I found myself in the stunning Solang Valley in Himachal Pradesh, India, I knew that this was the perfect place to turn that dream into reality. Solang, nestled between the towering peaks of the Himalayas, is known for its diverse adventure sports, and paragliding is undoubtedly one of its prime attractions. My experience of paragliding in this picturesque valley was nothing short of unforgettable, blending the exhilaration of flight with the breathtaking beauty of the surroundings. The day started with the typical hustle and bustle of preparing for the adventure. As I made my way to the base station, I was greeted by the cool mountain air and the spectacular view of the Solang Valley, surrounded by snow-capped peaks, lush green meadows, and rivers weaving through the landscape. The energy around me was infectious. People of all ages from various parts of the world were gathered, eager for their turn to soar above the valley. The instructors were friendly and professional, explaining the safety measures and basic flying techniques. There was a mixture of nervousness and excitement among the group, but the team's calm demeanor helped reassure us. I was paired with an experienced instructor who would be responsible for controlling the flight, while I simply had to follow his instructions. Before taking off, the instructor went over the equipment with me. The harness, helmet, and the paraglider itself were all checked meticulously. The gear felt secure, but my heart raced as I realized what I was about to do. The excitement of being on the cusp of an incredible experience began to overshadow any lingering nerves. We began our short hike to the takeoff point, which was located higher up the valley on a grassy slope. The elevation at this point was around 2,500 meters, offering an expansive view of the valley below. The air was thin and crisp, with the faint scent of pine trees and the earthy freshness of mountain soil. Looking out, I could see the paragliders already floating gracefully above, like colorful specks in the sky, as the wind lifted them higher. Once we reached the takeoff spot, the instructor quickly gave me a few last-minute instructions. "Run a few steps and then we'll lift off," he said. I felt a rush of adrenaline. As he signaled, I took off running, and in a matter of seconds, the ground beneath me disappeared. My feet were no longer on solid earth, and the sense of freefall lasted only for an instant before the wind caught the glider's wings, lifting us higher into the air. The sensation was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was as if I had become one with the wind, weightless and free. The initial jolt quickly turned into a smooth, serene glide. I was flying. Once airborne, I was struck by the sheer beauty of Solang Valley. Below me, the green expanse of the valley stretched out in a patchwork of fields, small villages, and winding rivers. Above, the snow-clad peaks of the Himalayas stood tall, bathed in the golden light of the sun. The air was calm, and the quiet, except for the wind, was almost surreal. It was hard to believe that only moments ago I was standing on solid ground. As the instructor gently steered the paraglider, I had a chance to take in the landscape from a perspective few people ever experience. The contrast of the lush valley and the majestic, towering mountains was breathtaking. We soared higher, circling in the updrafts, and at times I could even feel a slight change in pressure as the glider interacted with the invisible currents of wind. The view was so expansive that I could see the distant peaks of Rotang Pass, covered in snow, shining in the afternoon light. The sensation of being suspended in midair was both humbling and liberating. It was as if time had slowed down, and all the noise of the world below had disappeared. It was just me, the instructor, and the vastness of the sky. My nerves, once sharp and anxious, had been replaced by awe and wonder. One of the highlights of my flight was the opportunity to briefly take control of the glider. Under the instructor's guidance, I was allowed to pull on the control lines, making subtle adjustments to the direction. Although it was just a small part of the experience, it gave me a taste of the skill and focus that pilots must have to navigate the skies. The control was light but responsive, and I felt like I was learning the delicate balance between wind, weight, and direction. As we soared higher, I began to feel a sense of unity with the natural elements around me. I could feel the wind currents beneath us and the vast expanse of the valley below, and for a brief moment, it felt as if there were no boundaries between myself and nature. I could see the mountain peaks from an entirely new perspective, as though I had been transported to another world. After a few minutes of soaring high above Solang Valley, it was time to begin the descent. The instructor gently steered us down, and the feeling was as smooth as the ascent. I was still floating through the air, but gradually I could feel myself coming closer to the ground. The valleys and fields began to grow larger, and the wind became a little less intense as we neared the landing site. As we approached the landing zone, the instructor guided me through the final steps. The landing was smooth, almost like a gentle touchdown on a soft carpet. We touched down with a slight bump, and before I knew it, I was standing back on solid ground. My heart was still racing, and I was overcome with an incredible sense of accomplishment. In the moments that followed, I stood there, feeling the residual rush of adrenaline and the satisfaction of having experienced something truly extraordinary. Paragliding over Solang Valley had been both an adventure and a meditation. It was an opportunity to see the world from a perspective I had never imagined and to confront my own fears and limitations. What struck me most was the sheer peace of it all. Despite the thrill of flying, there was a tranquility in the sky that I hadn't anticipated. It was as though time slowed down, and in the brief moments of flight, I was able to find a sense of stillness that was so rare in our busy lives. My paragliding experience in Solang Valley was not just an adventure, it was a journey of self-discovery. It gave me a new appreciation for the natural world and the power of human courage and skill. As I walked away from the experience, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to witness the world from such an incredible vantage point. In the end, the rush of the flight, the beauty of the valley, and the sense of achievement will remain with me for a long time, as vivid and exhilarating as the moment I first took to the skies. As I drifted closer to the landing zone, I felt focused and ready. The instructor's words echoed in my mind. The landing is the most important part. Stay calm, keep your knees bent, and focus on your approach. I knew exactly what to do, and I felt confident I could handle it. The ground, which had once seemed distant, now came into sharp focus. The landing zone, a patch of flat grass marked with bright flags, appeared smaller than I had expected, but I knew I could reach it. I kept my grip firm on the parachute's handles, adjusting my position with steady control. A gust of wind brushed past me, causing the parachute to sway slightly. Instead of panicking, I instinctively pulled one handle to correct my course. The canopy shifted and I felt my descent stabilize. I knew I was in control. As I closed in on the landing spot, I bent my knees slightly, just as I had been taught. The ground rushed toward me faster now. I could see the grass rippling and small stones scattered across the landing zone. Timing was crucial. The moment my feet touched the earth, I leaned forward to absorb the impact. My legs moved steadily, keeping pace with my forward momentum. I felt my boots dig into the soil, firm and strong. There was no stumble, no loss of control, just a smooth, confident landing. The parachute billowed behind me for a moment before gently settling onto the ground. I stood tall, breathing deeply, and looked back at the path I had just conquered. The instructor jogged over with a grin. "Perfect landing," he said, clapping me on the back. I smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. The flight had been incredible, but the landing, steady, controlled, and fearless, was what I remembered most. That final moment of grounding myself back on solid earth left me feeling powerful, like I could take on anything.